Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the zodiac sign Pisces and fears. And yes, this does apply and pertain to the sun, moon, and ascendant. Anyway, people, first thing is, as far as in general, what Pisces may fear, I think sometimes reality can fear Pisces. Pisces may strongly fear reality because Pisces is often about their illusion, what they want to see in people, and they're very idealistic. And then when they're let down, it could just be so devastating to them. Pisces is a sign that often wants to overlook the flaws and transgressions of others. And when they really see people for who they are, I guess you could say reality bites, so to speak. I think they also strongly fear confrontation, whether it's verbal or physical. Pisces is a very passive, timid, submissive sign in many cases. They are not ones to want to mix it up with others, whether it's verbal or physical. They're generally a non-combative sign. And also, I think Pisces could strongly fear outside and extraneous influences, because Pisces could be very susceptible to them, to their environment. I think them and Cancer, the zodiac sign Cancer, probably are the two signs that are most sensitive to their environment. And Pisces may often mimic the behavior of others. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. If Pisces is in contact with bad influences, they could be strongly susceptible to that. Now, looking at a chart now, as far as Pisces and fears go, well, Aquarius often falls on the 12th house cusp in a solar or natal chart for Pisces. And the 12th house does represent fears. So I think because of that, because Aquarius often being on the 12th house cusp in a solar natal chart for Pisces, I think sometimes maybe there's this fear of being objective, whether it might be subconscious or otherwise, because Pisces is often very subjective. I think a lot of this fear could be another thing is that Pisces may fear being that non-conformist, being very unique, being a radical or a maverick, because keep in mind that Aquarius, is a sign that could be very non-conforming. They could be very radical. But the thing about Pisces is that they often want to often blend in with others, and I think Pisces sometimes lack their identity. Pisces, I don't know, and some of you may believe and some may not. I know some astrologers concur and some may not agree, but I concur with the ones that do believe, and I believe this as well, that Pisces is basically, they're like an amalgamation of the previous 11 signs, and they just, they are not ones to really want to go out and be unique and stand out that way and be a radical. And I think a lot of it's attributed to the fact that they are just really about blending in with others. They could be very malleable. They could be more adaptable to other personalities as opposed to really establishing their own. And also, with Aquarius often being on that 12th house cusp in a solar natal chart for Pisces, I think how this can manifest for Pisces is that Pisces can often maybe fear global concerns, or at least be averse to them to some degree, because global concerns are one thing, but Pisces often is in their own world as opposed to worldly interests or doing things for the world. And don't get me wrong, Pisces can be very philanthropic and charitable, and they could often do things to help others, but not always on that, not as much on that global level as opposed to Aquarius. At least I don't think so. Pisces is often into their own fantasy world. And the thing too is that Pisces, maybe to some degree, might fear freedom and their independence. Well, really more about freedom, and freedom from perhaps what could be their own confinement, their own imprisonment in their own fantasy world. This could be in their home or what have you. They don't, a lot of times I think Pisces is a sign that could be very introverted. They often are about their seclusion and solitude, and in their own way I think they kind of imprison themselves into that world from time to time. And anyway, I think too another thing is that, I mean, Aquarius is with Aquarius often being on the 12th house cusp in a solar natal chart for Pisces. Perhaps, I mean, the future might be something that Pisces might fear to some degree, or at least might be averse to or avoid, because the future, I mean, Aquarius is a sign that's very futuristic and progressive. They're very forward moving, but Pisces kind of a lot of times will just stay in their dream world, and they won't really be focused on that. And being future minded often requires certain direction, and unfortunately Pisces does not always have that direction. And also Pisces might be fearful of bringing out an innovative or ingenious side, and it could be, perhaps this could be attributed to Pisces' strong sensitivity of what others may say or what they think, and fear of maybe being condemned or really strongly criticized for this, because Pisces is often very fragile and very sensitive to what others may say and think. So anyway, this is what I want to get to now is looking at the opposite sign of Pisces, which of course is Virgo. And these could be characteristics and qualities, actions related to Virgo that Pisces may strongly be averse to and even be somewhat fearful of. So anyway, this could be perhaps one good example I think is being punctilious with details. Pisces is often more about the whole picture. They don't like to really be there and sit there and analyze and try to figure things out as far as the details go. I mean, Pisces and Virgo may often actually come to the same conclusions on things, but Virgo does it with a little more analysis on average, and Pisces just kind of does it a lot of times just on a feel of something. They could, you could have two people picking a football game, for example, and picking a winner and figuring, approximating how much they might win by. But Virgo could be the one that is more analytical, goes through the analysis more, extrapolates their data, and Pisces just kind of basically will look at it and say, well, hey, I know how this team is basically playing. I know how this team is. I'm going to go with such and such team, and they may often come to the same conclusion, but they just do it differently. Now, another thing with Virgo being the opposite sign of Pisces, well, Pisces might be somewhat fearful, or at least averse to some degree, might have been overly verbose or pedantic. Pisces will just really, I mean, they're not as much going into really talking about, describing things really that much in the great detail that Virgo will do it. And Virgo may be the sign that can be very articulate, use a lot of words. So Pisces just generally may not do that. Keep in mind, I mean, there's a reason why Mercury is in its detriment and fault in the sign of Pisces. Pisces is generally not a sign that's very wordy. They're more about what they feel and when they make decisions or what have you. And anyway, also work routine could be something that Pisces may fear. I mean, Virgo is the sign of the workaholic. Pisces is not exactly the most industrious sign, and really having to get up and do a set routine and schedule. They're just, Pisces sometimes might be too lackadaisical in doing so. It might be hard for them to be punctual like Virgo as well, because Pisces is not one that's going to emphasize having to be somewhere at a certain time all the time. It's kind of like, Pisces is really not much about their punctuality and reliability, unfortunately, as much as opposed to Virgo, because Pisces sometimes could be a little bit more of a dreamer, I'd say, as opposed to Virgo. And also, Pisces, what Pisces might fear, with Virgo being the opposite sign of them, is also being overly critical or judgmental, because Pisces is about feelings and they're very compassionate. They often are sensitive to others' feelings because they know that they are very sensitive, and they don't want to say things that might perhaps set somebody off, so to speak, or really hurt them deeply. So anyway, and also I think about what Pisces can fear or at least be averse to some degree, with Virgo being the opposite sign, is doing things in an organized and systematic manner. Pisces might still, you take Pisces and Virgo, they might accomplish the same things and be able to do similar things, but Pisces may not do it in that certain order all the time like Virgo might do. Virgo often has a certain way of doing something in what they feel is that more logical, systematic, and organized manner, but Pisces might do the same thing and maybe get the same work done, but they just do it a little different way and not as in an organized fashion. So anyway, and also another thing too, what Pisces might be averse to or even fear to some degree, with Virgo being that opposite sign, is maybe I'd say things pertaining to health. And I mean, Virgo sometimes could be downright fanatical about their health, and Pisces, unfortunately, is really not always about health. You notice that, especially Pisces rising, because that dominates the appearance. I mean, Pisces is not really known to be super healthy. I would say them and Cancer probably have the weakest constitutions of the zodiac. And Virgo is very more connected with their health. And I think, when you look at Pisces and Cancer, I look at their immune system, probably neither one very good. I don't see them. And Virgo is really, I mean, they just are all about health, and Pisces unfortunately is just not. And Pisces, with especially, as I'm going to say before, based on, I mean, especially the ascendant, because that dominates the physical appearance, Pisces can often be overweight and heavy, and really a lot of it is due to being somewhat lethargic or more sedentary and stationary, as opposed to Virgo. And Virgo is just simply often a workaholic, and they just always want to stay busy, it seems like, so they don't really have much time to be putting on weight. So anyway, last but not least, want to look at, I mean, the house cusp that Capricorn falls on in a solar natal chart can often reflect that area of life that someone may want to elude, evade, or avoid, and may even be somewhat fearful of. Now, with Capricorn often falling on the 11th house cusp in a solar or natal chart for Pisces, well, it could be friends and acquaintances they might avoid and be fearful of to some degree, because friends and acquaintances, this is more about being sociable in order to have friends and acquaintances. And Pisces is not really the most gregarious sign. They are more about themselves and being in their own kind of isolated area, in their own seclusion, being in their own fantasy realm. So things with friends and acquaintances, they may at least evade, elude, or avoid to some degree. And also goals and aspirations can be something that they might fear or elude or avoid, because with goals and aspirations you need to have certain direction. Sadly, Pisces can often be somewhat nebulous and confused and don't always have that direction in order to even set their goals and aspirations. They're often very confused and ambivalent and indecisive, and they have often trouble in doing that. Now, also, the future is something that they could have, that could be something that they can elude and evade and avoid as well, because like I was talking about the goals and aspirations, I think it applies to their future, is that you got to have some kind of plan and direction in order to set your future. And really, it's not something that Pisces often, I think, is very good at. Pisces often is in their own somewhat fantasy realm, and I think this could hurt them in terms of maybe doing things in connection with their future. It's just not something that they're generally, that they decide not to really think about that much, and it's something that they may be fearful of confronting. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Pisces Fears. And stay tuned next time, where I'm going to be talking about, in my opinion, what the most faithful zodiac sign is. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.